Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To my viewers, I just am delighted to bring to you this morning a speaker who will talk to us on one of the pillars or one of the things the Pan-African Writers Association deals with, which is the promotion of culture. As an association involved in international diplomacy, the Pan-African Writers Association is reputed as a social and cultural diplomatic arm of the UNESCO and United Nations, or even the African Union. So today, I have the pleasure to talk to a fellow brother who is not only a writer, but a cultural activist and a promoter of culture. And he is no other than TaTa, which is a title name or a nobility assigned title in the Ngamba kingdom. As TaTa, he is a traditional upholder in that kingdom. He is somebody who would for no reason sacrifice his culture for any other thing. So I am having him here to talk to us about his writing, to talk about his upbringing as a cultural immersed individual, his title of nobility, and how he uses his writing to militate for or to defend his culture. I would cede the floor to TaTa, say, Awasum. Could you please tell our audiences who are so interested in knowing about writing from different and diverse cultures who you are? Start by tell our audiences who you are. Thank you.
Good morning, audience. Dr. Bill, thank you for having me here. My name is Awasum, and as you have rightly said, I'm from the kingdom of Mankon. I live in America here. But the thing is that everywhere you migrate to, your culture migrates with you. You are never alone. You may try to shake it, you may try to change your accent, but your culture is with you. It's a shadow you cannot run away from. So I'm a writer. I'm probably one of the writers in Mankon. I've written a book on Mankon. What is it called? Mankon Traditional Oral Tradition. That's Mankon Oral Tradition. So just from the title, you can know I was really brought up in the culture. Before I went even to elementary school, I'm hearing an echo, so that's what I'm.
Just go ahead. Just talk. Yeah, okay. Just talk.
Even before I went to elementary school, I was very much involved in the culture. Right from maybe 5 years old, I was with my father. I come from a very prominent Mankon family, the Awasum family. I'm the fifth child, the fifth boy in that family, and the eighth child of Awasum. And most of you who are listening, Awasum died about 10 years ago, almost 20 years ago. And he was one of the prominent people in the Q4 house. He has been in the Q4 house since the 1940s, when his father was still around. When his father died in the 50s, he was still there. And the 60s, he took me there. So I know Mankon like the back of my hand.
Okay.
I am really disturbed when I see other Africans talk European history, talk about European culture, European foods, European wines, but they don't know anything about our own culture. They don't even know how to cook plantain. But they eat spaghetti, they eat all these things. And these things have to be made from somewhere they don't know where they're grown, and they package them and give them. Now, it's the same with religion. I see many of them, many, including you, Dr. Bill Nde.
Yes.
When I hear you call Bill Nde, I'm like, oh, no. Now, I'm not here to.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. We all guilty of something, right?
Yes.
We must be guilty of something.
Right.
That is why even the Christian Bible tells us all have sinned and have come short of the glory of God. So
Yeah.
there is nobody who can claim righteousness.
No.
Whether we're talking culture, we're talking anything, we are guilty one way or the other.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's I've been in America for about 40 years.
Okay.
My children are grown and gone. Now I have to get all these stories before I go. I have to get them down. My writing is mostly based on the way the African outlook, the African worldview, the African in the diaspora, because the stories are really about us.
That's very good. Let me pause, interject there a little bit. You just hold your thought, because what you are saying is something very, very key. I want our audiences to know one thing, that what you are doing is because the society in which we live, the Western world, whether we believe it or not, it is a society that consciously cultivates ignorance. Not only ignorance of the world, not only ignorance of their own world in which we live, but they cultivate ignorance of our own culture. So I think, and there is a term, a big term for that, which I would just like to introduce. They call that agnotology. And agnotology simply means conscious cultivation of ignorance. And we see how that is played out every day, where they make people to believe that their own values are less of a value, less important than the values that they want you to have. But at the same time, they don't want you to know exactly the intricacies of their values. So it is very important, as you're telling us about your book, which you rightfully title The Mankon Oral Tradition, right?
Yes.
That book, I think it is seminal. It is something that the audience should pay attention to. They should listen to you. I think, given just a brief background you had narrated here, your grandfather being a member of the Quifo, and for those who do not know the Ngemba tradition, for my international audiences, the Kwifo is the traditional government. It is like the House of Reps or the Senate. So your father in the traditional setting was like a senator or the speaker of the Senate, and your father after him, and then you came growing up within the corridors of the Kwifo, which is the Senate. So you have a lot. We are all ears. We want you to take us through the journey of that book, and maybe also tell us the source of inspiration why you decided to write the book. Thank you, TaTa.
Now, what you just said now, the conscious ignorance of the American society.
Yeah.
It's what I go through every day. In fact, that's my inspiration for writing. When I tell somebody, my dad had 5 wives, they're like, but you have 1 wife. You pay child support to the 3 girls out there. They are also your wives.
Yeah.
So you have 5 wives too. The only thing is you are consciously telling us you have but 1 wife. But you have 5 because you have children from 4 other women.
Yeah.
And you have 1 in your house. And when you look at it, it's very expensive to run it like that. So the way to really portray the African culture is that the African does not pretend that he is polygamous, that he is monogamous. He accepts it. He accepts it as is. And now you cannot be telling me that my own culture is bad because this man had 5 wives, put them in one place, had all the kids in one house, and they grew up in that one big compound. They are supporting each other. They are brothers. They lift up each other. You will understand that probably that is better than having these children, one in Wyandotte County, one in Jackson County, one in Clay County, and they never have to see each other. So these are the things that really propel me to try to explain it in books so that they can see. Now, because if there's no contrast, most of the times you will not even see how beneficial your own culture is.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for injecting this. I would like to say something about the polygamous, or polygamy. I did talk about the conscious cultivation of ignorance, all right, where the society consciously cultivates ignorance in people. Many people, and to my viewers, they might not know, but let me doff my hat of a historian and tell them that whether monogamy as an institution in the Western world is not up to 200 years old. In the United States of America, it was only introduced in the late 1890s. And the reason for introducing polygamy was more pecuniary or financial or fiscal meaning for taxation purposes. Because until that time, women and children were all considered dependents, and the more dependents you have, the less taxes you paid, and the more money the government lost. So they decided, no, let's drive it into their brains that one man, one wife, a few children is what is in their interest. So that is something I would like our audiences to take home and to add to what you've just said. So continue telling us about that book. You've told us about the inspiration of the book. Could you tell the audience about your time growing up within the Quifo house, within that assembly? Can you tell us what you learned culturally, what you have taken with you into this space that you are in?
Yeah. Yeah. When I went the first day, every day they go, they eat a chicken. When I went the first day, they were insisting for me to roast the chicken. Quifo doesn't lie. The people in the Quifo house do not lie. Because Quifo in the Ngemba language means Kui means I dare you. For means king. Before they made the Mankon kingdom, the people who are the clan leaders sat down and said, we cannot give the power to one person. We have to be the governing authority. And that person whom we are giving this power to has to listen to us and implement what we tell him. So they made a Quifo before they ever chose who was their king. And the Quifo means dare the king. That's the only group that can dare the king. The king is not a member of Quifo. So the Quifo is really powerful.
So, if I hear you well, you are telling us that traditional Mankon culture, the governance system, had in place checks and balances that made sure that if even the king, if somebody was made king, he could not arrogate tyrannical powers. Is that what I hear you say?
Yes. Nobody could become greater than the governing institution, which is Quifo. If the king is in his farm or walking around his compound, the Quifo is in the palace, and he hears Quifo coming, he's going to run, go into his quarters. Quifo come and pass before he comes back out. That's traditionally, I don't know what, but now, that's traditionally. Okay. And they were supposed to advise the king.
Okay.
Yes. Advise him on what to do or what to say. You cannot go to Mankon because their radio station used to be in market. That's where all news for the kingdom was given in the market.
Okay.
When they came there, they said, Kui for Songa, you can never hear the person who has that bundle of spears walking around market and saying that news. You can never hear him say for Songa, which means the king has said no. It is always Quifo. And when you think of Quifo in Mankon, you are not even thinking of any person. you are thinking of an institution. Yeah. And that was that institution. Well, by the time I came up, P4 was not carrying out capital punishments anymore, because they had the colony had already absorbed all the kingdoms in that area. But they used to have life and death in their hands. They used to decide that.
Okay.
And well, let me tell you about how the P4 came about. Mankon used to be ruled by clans. You know what a clan is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or tell our audience. I might know, but not my audience.
Yes.
Explain
Yes.
it to my
So
audience.
it used to be ruled by clans. And these clans came because the Mankon people came from Widikum. They lived in Widikum for long. And because they lived in Widikum, they did not want to crown a king inside Widikum because the Widikum people were ruled by clans. So they didn't want to come in there as strangers and just make their king. You know, they may be attacked if they just make a king. So they decided every clan head should rule his own clan. That's how Mankon came about. By the time they came to allow Mankon, which is the control Mankon, these clans were already too powerful. These clans were already too powerful. So, but there was danger of the clans splintering, and for each TaTa, the clan leader to take his people wherever he wanted. And the people with medicine power inside Mankon, the people with medicine power, there are five of them. They came together and said, we have to make a king. So the problem was choosing who will be king. And finally, this guy who used to be a plantain farmer, and every time they hunting used to be a big industry in those days. Each time the hunters are going to the hills to hunt, you invite them, give them plantains, give them palm wine, they drink before they go. When they're coming back, sometimes they still pass there and eat. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for anything. Sometimes they give him, when they're sharing their meat, they'll give him some meat. Now, this guy who was a plantain farmer, who was very kind, and he had so many seeds in his compound. He expanded his compound in such a way that the hunters, every day they go hunting, they go and share, but in his compound. His compound used to be the sharing ground. And when they're sharing the thing, he will give them a bunch of plantains. You guys cook this and eat. So they will remove the intestines. They will take out the intestines. They would take out the intestines, wash them, and give them. They cook the plantains with, and everybody eats. He did that for years until finally they said they wanted to make a king. And they were deciding who to make a king. But the person who brought them to Mankon was a guy called Su Kien. So Su Kien said, no, there's no need making a king because I'm already the king. Because I'm the one who's sharing land. I'm the one who has so much, because they made a system where they had to pay some tax for him for finding, for discovering Mankon. So they were paying tax to him for about every person pays tax to him. Anybody who built a compound in Mankon paid tax to him for 3 years. So this guy was contesting, and the hunters, because they were very powerful, the hunters, they said, this person is already too kind to us, and he doesn't have he is not fighting for power, but he already organizes us because he gives us room, allow us to do our things. Let's just make this man the king. Let's not go to this other guy who is already too powerful, has so much land. Let's go to this guy who is kind. So they gave him the kingdom. But before they gave him the kingdom, they had to institute, they have to make P4, PE4, which was the governing authority in the land. P4, therefore, who you could say the king was chosen by P4, the first king.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was the first king's name? Just contextualize it. Tell us the first king.
That Ndimmaga the sixth.
Ndimmaga. And why did they call him the sixth?
But his name before he became king was Mbangnizen.
Okay.
Mbangnizen. So he was just called this man. Mbangnizen.
Mbangnizen just means this man.
Yes. That was
so in a way, just like an ordinary man, or
right,
or like you'd say in American parlance, dude.
There it is.
Okay, yeah, continue. Let's continue with the story. That's interesting.
This dude was asked to be king, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it. I mean, what does it take?" They said, "Just be there," and they made him the king.
Okay,
but the thing is that P4 was already instituted. On the day they were crowning him, P4 had already before P4 was formed, as I said, these people were medicine power, 5 of them.
Yeah.
They came and said they should make a king, but there were 7 clans. 3 of them said, no, we'll give one person too much power. There's no way we'll make a king. We'll give him too much power. And refused participating. I said the Mankon should be ruled by clans rather than a king. But the people who made in power had so much power, they went and sat, and within a year, they came up with a system where they were going to transform themselves into P4. So these 3 clans who were refusing, they were convinced them. They convinced the people dissenting to come together in a house, and they said, okay, now let's make the P4. The P4 will be in charge of government, and the king will just be a mouthpiece of the government. When they said that, they said, how do we do it? They said, well, in order to make the P4, we have to go to our medicine bags, because the people with medicine power had medicine bags, very big bag with medicine. And there's this thing we call in America the cowbell.
Yeah.
Every medicine bag had a cowbell. He said, let's give up the cowbell, but take our bags with the medicines in it back to our clans. These cowbells will be in the P4 house. The people who made up P4 are those 5 people, together with the very wise people that have been selected because of activism, because of some benefit Mankon has had from. Together with what are called the senders, who are the servants in the palace. Nobody of nobility was in the P4 house. Only those people with medicine power and the commoners.
So that is why the Q4, if you want to, I'm just making a parallel here. I want our audience to understand that when we are using a foreign language to explain certain things. So I would like to have their bearings situated in that foreign language. The Quifor is the House of Commons. It is like the parliament. It is like the place where all the decisions are made. Is that it?
The Quifor is the Senate.
The Quifor is the Senate.
The House of Commons in Dabukum.
Ndabukum. Okay, thank you.
That's the House of Nobles.
Okay.
That's the House of Commons. The Quifor is the Senate.
All right. Okay. So I just wanted clarity
Right.
on that. That's good.
Yes. So almost everything is filtered through Quifor. Worst, I would say worse, filtered through Quifor before it trickled down into the community, which is Congo. Before Ngong got any message, they will say, Quifor has said that. Quifor has said that. And that's it. And once Quifor says something, there is no debating it. So they took out these cowbells and put them in the Quifor house. The cowbells form the basic instruments of the Quifor house. How do I know there were 5? Because at the time I was there were only 5 of those things. And they say each one of them gave their bells to the house. So now they made their king. And on the day of coronation, they told the king, well, you have to come and see Quifor. You know, Quifor is the people who they can hear. They carry out capital punishment. They drive out witches from the land. They do cleanse the lands with their medicine power. Now, these people are feared. And because of their stubbornness in keeping the law and keeping the land cleansed. Now, compare that with somebody who is so generous and giving his things free. He wants people to be happy. Compare him with Quifor. He said, no, I'm not coming to Quifor house. Give them whatever they want, but I'm not coming to see them. And that is why the Quifor, for a long time, we are talking of about since 1407. 1407 till today. Now, I don't know about how it is today, but the king never saw Quifor. Now, the king sent a representative to Quifor only in the 1800s. When the Bangsus, you know Bangsus?
I know the Bangsos, the Arab slave raiders.
All right.
Yes.
The Bangsus are Bali people.
Okay.
Because they ate kola nuts and they carried the residue in their mouth and it painted their lips red.
Okay.
So when they left Fumban and attacked Mankon, I've never heard of them. When they killed some of them, they saw that every one of them had red lips. So they just called them Bangsus, red lips.
All right.
So when the Bangsus came and drove them out of Mankon land, burnt the whole place, and they ran into Bafut. When they left Bafut and came back and settled back in Mankon, now they didn't settle on the south side of the river anymore. They came to the north side. So when they came at that time, that was when the Quifor House said, you must give a representative of royalty into the Quifor House. because we had so much difficulty when we were in Bafut, because you had no representative in the Quifo House.
Okay.
And then why did they have this difficulty? Because when they went and stayed there, Bafut, after helping the Mankon people send the Bangsus to Ochiang, Bafut wanted to incorporate Mankon. And Mankon said, no,
Okay.
you cannot incorporate us. And so the King Angwafo the first was about close to 100 years old when the Bangsus came. They had horses, something the Mankon man has never seen. They had horses. They had bows and arrows. They were fighting like Arabs, things that Mankon people have never seen before. And so the king, in the rush to escape, entered the Mezam, crossed the freezing Mezam in the Hamatan. You know how cold it is in those days. Crossed into Bafut. And because of that, because he felt so cold, they took him to a house, put in locks, made a lot of fire, thinking that they were going to kill him, and he died. Ngwafo the first, he died in Bafut. And when he was dying, when he died, they made his son from Mankon, the new king. But Bafut had him. Quifo was on the other side. Bafut was trying to incorporate the land, had our king. So since the king didn't have a representative in the Quifo house, the only thing they could do was go and steal his stool. That's the throne. It's called a stool. The throne, took it to the Quifo house, crossed over with it, and left it in Mankon. And eventually, they took their king by force or arms, because they had one gun. And they shot that gun, one shot. That's no Bafut man has ever seen a gun. No Mankon man has ever seen a gun in those days. One shot. And it splintered somebody's hand and blood was coming out of it. And they said, no, let them go. They have witchcraft. So Mankon crossed over into Fumju. They were not willing to go inside Mankon. They were Fumju is just the boundary, somewhere near the airport, right there.
Okay.
Yes. They were there trying to build a palace there. But for Mankon had seen the way the bounce was fought. Waves and waves of cavalry coming. And if they come and they're leaving, the others coming. And then he looked at the lay of the land in Fumju. There was no forest. There was no river to stop people from coming. The fear of Bangsu made him say that you look for somewhere else to build the palace. And that's why they built the palace at Fuzan, where the palace is today. If you look at that palace, there's nowhere you can come, you're coming anywhere in Mankon. The hills around that palace, you must be seen. And they built it on the north bank of the Mezam because the Bantus could not cross the Mezam with their horses.
Okay.
And then they dug a trench, which is called a kung, a trench around the settlement. But you know how news is. News went out that Mankon had a dangerous gun, defense gun, and so most of these renegade tribes and peoples were running into Mankon. So many of them. And Mankon found that the trench that they dug around the settlement were too small for the number of people who were in there. And they said, no, we'll dig a second trench. They went about 5 miles away and started another trench, which went right over Latmatu, went up to Muwatu, came up to Alatu, Ngulum, Ntamben, Ntamafe, and went all the way down to the west side of the Mazam. That trench was dug in order to the fear with the Bangsus, who never came back, because when they came, and most of the fighting, most of their horses died, but the people did not know. They were still scared of them. They were still scared of horse warfare. So those trenches were dug for that. That was even before the Germans came the first time. Most people think that those trenches were dug for the Germans. No. They were dug because of Bangsu. For Mankon could not sleep very well. The trenches had bridges over them, and these bridges were guarded. They were guarded by people who are called the Akanji. Those are people who are guarding those trenches, because there's no way you can come and just go into the settlement without crossing a bridge.
Yeah.
Yes. So those bridges were the only ways into the settlement. Now Mankon had Nju, which means home, the settlement. Settlement was called Nju. And outside of the settlement was called Afon. Farmlands and homeland. You see? So in the homeland, people were living. The farmland was only good for people who are wine tappers, most of the times it was very dangerous to go outside of the settlement. So the people who supply food in Mankon are women. They are not men.
Yeah.
So they were braving to go out, and they did something called Ishi. No woman goes to farm alone. They go in a group. Because, there are slave catchers, there are all kinds of people. People get missing when they go out there. So they go out with the she group, go and farm your farm today. The next day, they'll go together and farm another person's farm. Sometimes they go with men who are armed. Sometimes they go with just women. But at least there must be one man among them to fight off any danger. Because most of the time, when we hear of like slave catchers, it's not like they came in a war. They're just opportunists. When they see somebody who's alone, they will tackle them and take them and go and sell them.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And so that's how Mankon was.
Okay.
That gun, it brought people, brought Mundum, Mbu, who are now Bafochu. They are explained that into Bafochu, Za, Obanja, and Mbei. Oh, they used to be one. They came into Mankon. Many people came into Mankon. Nzong used to be Mankon. Mundum used to be Mankon. Many groups came in there because we had that defensive gun.
Yeah.
That the defensive gun that we used in Bafut, just one shot. Now, the fun of we say it's Badi Kumbat. We call them Mankon, but Tiba Kumbat. Now, he was a very strategic person. Every time he saw that you are strong, he will make you his friend, by hook or crook. So he sent people into Mankon, including one of his daughters. to come and see for Mankon to make up some the diplomatic connection. That girl was left in Mankon Palace to learn the culture and the ways of being a royal wife. Her name was Anzong.
Okay.
Anzong had 2 boys. One is in Kimbe, and the other one is called Fobuwe. They are prominent people in Mankon today.
Okay. Thank you for this background history. It is so much to fathom in a program like this. What I would really like you to focus on or to turn around and tell us. We've had the history, your time in the Quifor House. Now, how does this history and time inform your writing and the book, Mankon Oral Tradition? Did you just take us through? You took us through the story, the narrative, the creation of the kingdom, how the people lived, how the people, some of the wars the people had to contend with. Now, how does this come into your writing, and how does your writing help people like me take off these glasses, the Western glasses that I have on, to pick up the Mankon glasses and see the world from the Mankon lenses?
Well, everything is filtered through me in the Mankon culture and the Mankon language. I don't think in English. I think in Mankon, because that was all I knew. Now, when I went to elementary school, the first thing the teacher did was, the first class that we attended, or that we had outside of the classroom, was called religious knowledge. We go and sit on the eucalyptus tree because the class was too cold. The class was too cold because we watered the class. The class was all dead. There was not cemented. There was dead floor. And when we came with our calabashes, we go to this creek and collect some water and come and then make the class a little muddy to keep down the dust. And that makes the class really cold. And so we have to go under. When it's about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, when the sun is coming out, the teacher has to take us under
The tree.
Under the tree for religious knowledge. And there was something that he said. And that's where my writing really started, because I'm thinking, this person cannot say this. He cannot say that God made the world in 6 days. And then on the 7th day, he rested. On the 6th day, he made a man and found that the man was lonely. They say he made a man, and he realized that he was beautiful. And then he found out the man was lonely. And I'm thinking, what kind of God is that? Because in Mankon, God is all-knowing. He has no beginning. He has no end. He is knowledge and everything. So he cannot find that it was good. And he cannot find that the person was lonely. Even as a small kid, I'm thinking, there's something wrong here. But that was a forbidden question that a child could ask, according to the teachers in those days, because I had a beating because of it. I said, what kind of God will find something that is beautiful and he will realize that the person is lonely? He knew it before. That thing is bothering me because according to Mankon cosmology,
Yeah.
God is all knowing. He has no beginning and no end. And when he made people, he made them into clans and spread them all over the world. There was no beginning. Now you see, I'm having a conflict there. This way I saying that God made man. He saw that the man was lonely, and he thought about it. He said, "Okay, now let me make a woman for him." There's something wrong with that kind of God. But that's a forbidden question in a Catholic school, because I went to a Catholic school. That's a forbidden question. You cannot ask why. And I got tried for it. And those things they are always conflicts. Even as old as I am, I'm always seeing conflicts between what people say and what they do. A very good example is when we're in elementary school, we wrote the common entrance, and the priest will come, or rather the brother who was in charge of mission schools, he'll come, I'm coming for interview. The first thing you have to show is a baptism card. And I'm thinking, hey, because there were no birth certificates in those days. They said the only way I can know your birthday to know how old you are is your baptism card. And I'm thinking, I thought baptism was for prepare us to go to heaven. Now it has become a weapon for control. They're not using that baptism to control who has to go to secondary school. And guess what? Everybody ran to go and get baptism, to get that baptism card. So you look at it and you're like, huh, these people are telling us one thing and they're doing another. Now, another thing was the priest will come to the village for confession on Saturday. He knows everything about everybody in the village. He knows that some of these mothers do not go to sell. They cannot sell anything. They cannot go to town and sell anything. They don't have anything to sell. And he comes with his Volkswagen and come and sits there. But the mother has a contribution card. She will put some potatoes in a basket, put some eggs in that basket, come and then give it to the priest in order to go for confession. I'm looking at that, I'm thinking to myself, no Mankon man with his true sense will really receive something from this woman who is so wretched. But they got it. The whole thing is, I'm seeing contradictions everywhere. And that's what's making me to write, because these contradictions drive me to say the inconsistencies that I'm saying in the way things are.
All right. Can you go into your book and tell us some of the consistencies you have pointed? Are these some of the consistencies you're pointing, or are there others that you could give us as, palpable example? Because you are talking that these are the things that push you to write.
Yes.
Do you tell these stories in your book?
No, I did not say that in the Mankon oral tradition, but I have other books. I have about 5 books.
Okay.
They are on Amazon. But if you go into my books, you will see most of these things, most of the inconsistencies. And now I've been exposed to America,
Yeah.
and to their history, and to their really sorrowful history. And the inconsistencies are multiplied here. They are completely multiplied, because you see people. Now, if somebody says Christ looked like Dr. Bill,
Yeah.
99 people in America, 99% of people in America will say no, no, no. No, 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 that come no.
Yeah.
If you say he was a 24, 30-year-old guy with flowing hair and a blonde, yes. The thing that bothers me the most is the people who believe that are people who look like me. It's so sad. That's why I say it is multiplied here. They look at you and they're like, there's no way. So, but in our culture, God is male or female, but he does not have human form. He can change his form any way he wants. He comes in the wind. He comes in the mountain. He comes in the forest.
Yeah.
Comes in the rain. He comes as a dog. He comes as a chicken. So God is a spirit. You have to be kind to all things that you see, because you don't know whether it is God tempting you. That was the way we were brought up. Now, if you say God is a man and he is a blonde man, even they who have written the Bible says he is a spirit. But at the same time, they have a photo of somebody. It causes problems for me, a big problem. Because the people who believe it the most are people who look like me. And I'm worrying, I'm saying, how come all these things were given, I was exposed to all these things, and majority of people don't know it? But then you cannot blame them, because when the colonized Africans started saying that the people sitting in the government offices being clerks and asking you when you come in what's your name and writing it down, were people who were the servants of the colonizers when they came. And so everybody just said, my kid, just go and sit with Kerekis, go and sit with Reverend Father, in order that tomorrow you will have that position of power. And so by so doing, those kids grow up as servants, and they take what they have been taught, and they don't question it. Now, I did not grow up like that. I grew up in a kingdom where I was really vested. My lineage was vested in it. And I came up with a different understanding of how the world works.
Wow.
For example, they say there's God, the Father. In Mankon, there's Miyako, which means Almighty God. And he is in charge of everything above man. Everything. Rainbow, rain, sun, moon, the sky, everything. And then there's Wingong, who is the community God. He's in charge of everything on earth. And our earth was limited to Mankon land. That was Wingong, the God of community. And it was a female. It's supposed to be the wife of Miyako. She's in charge of fertility. She's in charge of cleansing the soil to make it fertile for, in charge of making children, in charge of justice, all these things.
Wow.
And now there is also a Nwinda, which is the god of the lineage. Every lineage has their god. Now, where we go and put libations, we go and pour libations, put that wine in a gourd or a calabash and go and pour it. Now, let me ask you, there is St. Augustine, there's St. Joe, and there's your father, maybe your grandfather's name wasn't there. Now, if you are really praying, if you are really serious with yourself, and you are praying to gods or to spirits, which spirit do you think would be very serious about taking your prayers to God? Is it the spirit of D or the spirit of St. Joseph?
The answer is self-evident.
Okay. Now, you see Africans, especially women, they have this kind of things they call rosaries and so on. They carry it on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they will pray to Mary, they cry for her, they will cry almost every time. They are lamenting. And I look at it, it's like hypocrisy. Because your own mother is there, you have forgotten her grave. You don't even go and weed it. But you are weeping for the Immaculate Conception. Your father is there. The person you throw libations to. Because when you die, if you die in Mankon, they must eat corn, which is cooked corn, dry corn. It's not spice, nothing, there's no spice on it. And that's the food that connects the living with the dead. You must eat that corn before they bury the person. Now that person now becomes a food, which means he's your lineage spirit. That lineage spirit is the one who receives your libations. When you are throwing that libations, you call his name. You call his father's name. So all of them come and get a libation, get your hopes, get your prayers, get your requests, and take them to Mwinda. So Mwinda takes them, goes to a crossing, and gives it to Mwingong. So Mwingong receives from all this clan Mwindas. He receives it from all this and then takes them and then tells Miyako. And what does Miyako do? He sends down rain. He sends down the sun. He does everything the way we want them to be done. I mean, there is no simpler and organic way of explaining creation. Now, if somebody comes and says, there are three gods, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, and they're all male. Well, where's their brain? Nothing uses all male can create anything. That's the way we see it. What are you thinking of? And I know I will say this and people hate me for it, but I will say it anyway.
We're listening to you. Go ahead.
How can a bunch of bachelors organize a community correctly? If you want to do a wicked thing, guess who comes and tells you, but I think we should not do this. This is not. It's your wife, right?
Certainly.
Or it's your daughter.
Yeah.
They maintain stability. Now, if they were all men in the world, you know, there'll be war which will never end, right?
Certainly.
So how do you expect a bunch of celibate to go and sit? And then when the kingdoms started getting weaker, they took the central stage. And then the kingdoms did something which is smart. Spain and Portugal went to Rome and said, we want to take more land. They say you can take land, but you will not take Christian land. You can take hidden land. They went down to Brazil and all of South America. They took the land and killed anybody who would not bow to their cross. They blessed them and gave them the keys of the store, candy store for kids. They gave them the key. Now, you think if there was a woman there, that type of thing would have happened? That the ships are going, now the people were so weak, they say, okay, no, let's just get Africans there. And they're blessing the ships. They're blessing the ships. They're blessing the ships. And then they're going and putting Africans and carrying them all over the world. There are Catholic churches today who gave up their slaves only after emancipation. Oh, we have acquired the parish together with the slaves. They will not let these people go. Now, if there were women in power, you think that type of thing would have happened? No. And you could enumerate all these things. But the thing is that people believe so blindly and they are right about the stories that are kept silent. I don't write about mainstream stories. I write stories that are kept silent, that tread in places that people fear to tread.
Having said this, I would like to come in here really quickly because I know that's the problem of many writers, or the challenges that many writers like you would face when you write those stories that are not mainstream, that are not. So, how do you get these stories? Because you certainly have an audience. How do you get the story to your targeted audience?
Well, when I'm writing them, I'm writing them more to myself, because my audience is not defined. My audience, the audience that I know do not read books.
But can you do something to encourage them to read the books? Because I'm trying to see.
Now,
I'm pushing the button here
yeah,
because I know for a fact if you write for somebody who doesn't read, you want to make sure they have access to that reading. If I were to ask you to tell the audience here why they should read your book, encourage those who do not want to read the book, I might have to borrow from that same Christian Bible. All right? Where Christ says he did not come for the righteous. You are not writing for the righteous. Somebody like me, I'm culturally conscious. I would want to pick any of your book and read anytime. But we are here talking to people who are hesitant, who don't know anything about Mankon, oral tradition, Mankon, culture, the complex issues in which you delve in. What can you tell them? I would like you to tell them a thing or two in that regard.
yes. There's a saying in Mankon that a stream winds around mountains and around valleys because it is alone. Now, if somebody read my book, there is no way they can be the same after they have finished it. They will never be the same. Because the inconsistencies are right there. And you see, sometimes you read it and you say, oh my God, I've been doing this for 50 years.
Yeah.
The public must see me as very stupid. A good example. Now, you don't open your shop on Sunday, right? You don't open your shop on Sundays because that's the day of rest. Guess who is the busiest on Sundays?
Churches?
Yes, the churches and the pastors. They may attend about 3 to 5 congregations collecting the money. And then for the rest of the week, they will sit quiet. Now, do you see the contradiction? The same people who told you who have to keep this day holy are the same people. Now you look at yourself and you're like, didn't I read that about 40 years ago? And there's no way you can read the book and you come out the same. You'll be changed. Because you start saying things 2020. You not have the glare in your eyes anymore. So one other thing is this: we are lucky to be in the era of social media. So no, these things which used to be filtered and then just given to us, but in bits, anybody can blast them out right now. And now, this is what we're doing right now. And we could do it more for people who do not want to read, because after listening to this, some people really want to go and read them. So
No, that's wonderful. All right. I would maybe just request that you give us maybe some closing remarks. I want to thank you first of all for taking us through this journey, and I would be very happy and delighted to have you for another session to talk about some of your other books or to dwell mostly on your writings so that you tell us today's session. You seem to have walked us through your upbringing within the palace system, your understanding of the Mankon culture, and your time in the West. But there would be a time I really want you to just talk about your books in depth and tell us, you know, how you use the book as an instrument for cultural diplomacy. So before we wrap up today, I'll just give you the last few minutes to give any concluding remarks that you want to give. Thank you.
thank you. I'm I'm on this thing. That water is interrupting.
Thanks for telling me.
Sorry, Dr. Beer.
That's okay. Go ahead. I'm
Yes.
listening.
Yes. Thank you for having me today. But I was not really prepared for this. And all I can say is the best way, that's my first book, Mankon Oral Tradition. It's on Amazon. And another one called Mbong. It's about an arrested, pretty woman in Africa. And the way she takes to survive. Like I said, I write about things that the stories that are not told. The stories at the margins. The stories that people are too ashamed to look at directly. So, and then there's another one. It's on my life, or rather, stories of America, living as a diasporan. And there are some stories that are picked up here that are really putting me in trouble. Because no matter what I do, I am still a Black person. And I do not think that being Black in America is only Black American. I'm included in it. So I write their stories. And I write stories of the Africans in America.
Okay.
And now, if you read any of the books, another one is called Beetle Creek Water Plant. That one's a thriller. It's just about 100 pages. It's very. So, but yeah, when we come in the next session, I will go more detail in the books.
All right. Okay. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure hosting you today. And I hope our viewers will plunge in your books, get copies, read, and get back to us about our efforts in promoting peaceful coexistence by spreading our words or our culture So we would call it a day today, and you have a blessed and wonderful day. Bye bye.
And thank you for having me. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.